Today I'm so excited because I will bring you on a full tour inside an Orthodox Jewish synagogue, and more specifically a Sephardic Orthodox Jewish synagogue, and I will share with you 5 things you did not know you could find in an Orthodox synagogue. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Sara Malka, and on my channel I share all facets of my Orthodox Sephardic Jewish life as a full-time working mom with small kiddos. So please don't forget to leave this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Let me put on a pretty tehol and let's jump into it. When you see this Sephardic synagogue from the outside, you can notice that the architecture is already more Middle Eastern inspired, with these very recognizable arches compared to the traditional Ashkenazi synagogues that are more European in their architectural design, like this one. When you come in the synagogue, on the right doorpost of every door in the synagogue, you will be greeted by a Mezuzah, and it is customary to kiss the Mezuzah when you're passing one. Because this synagogue is a Sephardic synagogue, the Mezuzah will be secured with a slight slant toward the entrance, compared to our Ashkenazi brothers who will have a more pronounced slant when they affix their Mezuzah on their doorposts. As soon as we come in the foyer of the synagogue, on the left side we have the Etz Chaim, or Tree of Life. When we look more closely, we can see at the base of the roots there are individual plaques, and when we look up, we see individual plaques shaped like leaves. Each plaque, whether at the root of the tree or as a leaf, represents a life event, whether to celebrate a birth, a wedding, or other life events, and some are general good wishes, like this one where it wishes a refuah shelema, or a complete healing and recovery for the sick people of the community. All these commemorative plaques serve as an ongoing reminder that all life events are part of the Tree of Life, or Etz Chaim, and should be experienced as a community. Another item you might notice in a Sephardic synagogue are these Middle Eastern details, whether on the floor, windows, and more, and we will see them throughout our visit in this synagogue. On the right side of the foyer, when you come in the synagogue, you have the Tallit GAdol stands. The Tallit GAdol is the prayer shawl Orthodox Jewish men wear for their morning prayer from Sunday to Shabbat. You can see you have different styles of tallit. Some are white with black lines, some are completely white, and some are white and blue. Albeit a vast majority of Sephardic men will wear a white tallit, but some have the tradition to wear black and white or white and blue Tallit GAdol. Some will use their own tallit, some will use the one from the synagogue. But in a nutshell, whether you are a regular at a synagogue, a newcomer, or a visitor, you will always find a Tallit GAdol waiting for you. Next, you have a stand where you can find all kind of information, including the candle lighting time for the city you are in, for the present and future weeks, as every week the time of the candle lighting changes, as the time of the sunset varies from week to week, and we light 18 minutes before sunset to welcome the Shabbat on Friday night, and Shabbat ends with the coming out of 3 stars in the night sky on Saturday night, which also varies every week. In the stand, you also find commentaries on the Parashat HaShavua, or the section of the Torah that is read on that week. There are also information about the activities in the shul or synagogue. Next to the Etz Chaim, we have the main sanctuary. It is customary in an Orthodox synagogue to have a box of kippah, or head covering, for men. Men wear a kippah all the time, not only in synagogue, as a constant reminder that God is everywhere and as a sign of reverence for God. Another thing that is particular to an Orthodox synagogue is that it is separated in a men's section and a women's section. We will see the women's section in a few minutes, but first let's start with the back of the men's section, where you can see a very large board with lights. It is called the Ohr Hachayim Remembrance board, and Ohr Hachayim means the light of life. Each light is associated to a plaque with a name and a date. These plaques are to remember a family member who passed away. They serve as a reminder that even though a person is not with us physically, they are forever part of our life spiritually, and we should include the departed in our life, especially during our communion with God through prayers, as well as in our different life events. As you previously saw in our Orthodox Sephardic Jewish wedding video, our respective parents carried a candle to commemorate the people who were not with us physically, but we wanted to include them in our simcha to make sure they never forget we love them so much, and we will never forget them. When you look at the layout of the men's section, you have 3 sections of chairs, one on each side of the synagogue and one in the back of the synagogue, and together they are forming a U, with the opening of the U facing eastwards towards Jerusalem, where you can find the most holy area of the synagogue, which is called the ARon Hakodesh, or Holy Ark, which we will look into in more depth in just a moment. Each section of seats is equipped with at least 2 sefarim, or holy books. One will be the Chumash, which contains the 5 books of the Torah. We read a section every week on Shabbat, as well as Monday and Thursday morning. The other sefer is our Siddur, or prayer book, with the weekday, as well as Shabbat and some of the holiday prayers. Another thing you may notice is the name on each seat. That is because people who pray almost exclusively in one synagogue like to pray in the same area and seat, which makes sense and also aligns with the recommendations of our sages, stating that we should try to pray in the same place or seat every day, whether in the synagogue or at home, to facilitate our focus, and also by doing so, it will create a more sacred place where we know we can pray and connect with God. In every Orthodox Jewish synagogue, you will see extensive libraries like this one, where you can see Chumashim with regular prayer books or Sidurim. In the next bookcase, you have special Sidurim or prayer books for our Jewish holidays. As you can see on the spine of the books, there is a shofar for our Jewish New Year or Rosh Hashanah, an etrog for the holiday of Sukkot, and a Tallit for our Yom Kippur. There are many copies of the same Sidurim to make sure every person in shul or synagogue has a copy, as the prayers vary from holidays to holidays. At the center of the synagogue, you have the Bima, or prayer pulpit. It provides a focus point from which the chazan, or person leading the prayer, stands, and also where the Bal Koreh will read the Torah. Because we are talking about the Sefer Torah, let me show you the holiest place of the synagogue, the ARon Hakodesh, or Holy Ark, where the Sefer Torah are kept. The first thing you notice are the steps leading to the ARon, where the Sefer Torah, or Torah scrolls, are kept. The ARon is elevated to show proper reverence to the holy writings contained in the Sefer Torah. There are 2 layers of protection in the ARon, the wooden doors, and then the paroquet, or curtains. There are many Torah scrolls in the ARon, and as you can see, most of the Sephardic Torah scrolls are encased in beautifully decorated wooden boxes. The scroll cannot be spread like an Ashkenazi scroll for the Agba, or the showing of the Torah. You can see there is a nameplate on the Sefer Torah called Sefer Rishon, or first book. It means that it is the scroll that should be read first when the Sefer Torah is taken out of the ARon. Sometimes 2 or even 3 Sefer Torah can be taken out of the ARon per Shabbat, and sometimes even more for some holidays like Simchat Torah, where we celebrate the completion of the yearly reading of the Torah, and we take out all the Sefer Torah from the ARon and we dance with them. The Sefer Torah is taken out of the ARon, and it is an honor to carry the Torah to the Bima and to remove the decorations that are there to beautify the Sefer Torah, as well as the internal robe of the Sefer Torah. On a side note, we cannot take out a Sefer Torah and open it just to look at it. This is why this was filmed by a lovely man when the Sefer Torah was taken out to be read on a weekday. The last element to be removed is a belt around the Sefer Torah to keep it closed, and it is called a mappa. The Sefer Torah is opened, then shown through the Agba to the congregation. Once everybody has seen the inside of the Sefer Torah through the Agba, the Bal Koreh can start reading the Torah. The Bal Koreh is a man who specializes in the reading of the Torah, as the parchment does not have nekudot or vowels, nor the ta'amim or cantillation or tune, making it very hard to read directly from the Sefer Torah unless it was studied for hours to be able to read fluently the weekly parasha or weekly part of the Torah. On a side note, whether in a Sephardic or Ashkenazi synagogue, the Sefer Torah will never touch the Bima itself and will always be put on a secondary surface. In Ashkenazi synagogues, they will use an embroidered cloth or sometimes a tallit, like here. And in our Sephardic synagogues, the Bima will be covered with a hard material like this one to stabilize the large circular wooden box where the Torah is kept. When we go out of the shul or synagogue, we will take the stairs and go upstairs because in Orthodox synagogue, the women do not sit with men, as the synagogue is a place to focus on our relation with God and not to socialize or mingle. The section of the woman is called Ezrat Nashim, or Woman's Courtyard. Of course, it has a mezuzah on the doorpost, and also a very important sign greets us on the door. No telephones are allowed in the Ezrat Nashim, especially during the week, and more importantly, during Shabbat. I love the Ezrat Nashim because it is high up and open, so you can hear and see everything without being seen. Unless, of course, we go in the front of the balcony and stand on our tippy toes. And even if we do that, only the row of men next to the ARon would see us. And of course, we avoid doing this. The organization of the seats with the nameplates as well as the decor are the same as in the men's section. We have a chumash and a siddur for each seat, and one other thing you might have noticed is the height of the steps that is smaller. This is to avoid for women to take large steps, forcing them to bend over or perhaps uncovering the upper part of their legs while climbing up the stairs, especially if the skirt is a bit too short. And this is why we have smaller steps to stay modest at all time in the house of God. Like in the men's section, we have a library. In it, you can see a tzedakah box or charity box, as it is customary for men and women to give charity, even a few coins before praying. Of course, this box will be removed during Shabbat and the holidays, as we do not handle money on Shabbat nor the holidays. You can see in this bookcase chumashim as well as different Sephardic sidurim or prayer books, because Moroccan Jews will have different traditions or minagim in their prayers compared to Algerian Jews or Middle Eastern Sephardic Jews. Therefore, we have different sidurim to represent the different traditions amongst Orthodox Sephardic Jews. Another thing you can see in more details because you are in the women's section is the gorgeous overview of the shul or synagogue and the beauty of the synagogue with its stunning stained glass. When we go back down past the lobby, we have something you most probably did not know we had in a synagogue, and that is a very large reception hall. We have such hall because a lot of time there will be a simcha, celebration, or a party on Shabbat, whether for a bar mitzvah during the 7 days of celebration after the wedding, and this is why a hall integrated in the synagogue is a must, as we cannot drive on Shabbat to go somewhere else. Therefore, reception halls are often part of large synagogues, like in this synagogue, where you have one enormous reception hall fully equipped and beautifully decorated. In this synagogue, you can find in the basement a secondary reception hall that is used more routinely for the kiddush or small brunch served after the Shabbat prayer. At the end of the room, you can see these large decorated wood panels. They are called mechitza or separators because men and women do not mingle in Orthodox events, so we are separated by these mechitza. If you have been here for a while, you already know we use mechitza as you saw them in our Sephardic Orthodox Jewish wedding video and our How We Throw a Party as Orthodox Jews video. And once again, just to reiterate my feelings about the mechitza, I absolutely love being all women together without the men. It is like a major girls' night out and it is amazing. If you're curious to know, here is how the hall in a synagogue looks like when it is fully decorated for an event. Since food will be served in the reception halls, the other thing you will find in an Orthodox synagogue that might surprise you is a full-on kosher kitchen with a meat and a milk side, of course, because as Orthodox Jews we do not mix meat and milk together. The kosher caterer has meat and milk dishes. Here you can see the piles and piles of meat dishes. And perhaps you're seeing these piles of plates and you're asking yourself, why do we need so many dishes? Well, it is because usually in a simcha or Jewish party, there are often more than 100 people that are attending. The other thing you will find in an Orthodox synagogue are kosher bathrooms. What I mean by that is that the bathroom will have two sections. A seating section area, usually with a changing table, and another area with the sinks and stalls. When you go in the stall, you will not find the regular rolls of toilet paper, but you will find detachable squares of toilet paper because we cannot rip or destroy on Shabbat. After washing our hands with soap and water, we go outside the bathroom and find a basin with our famous double-handled cup or netilat yadayim to wash our hands ritualistically. And finally, the last thing you will find that might surprise you in an Orthodox synagogue is that usually there will be a smaller synagogue in the larger synagogue. The reason for that is because often there will be more than one minyan, which means 10 men over the age of 13 years old, praying in the same synagogue at different time. For example, there will be one prayer at Netz or dawn and another at 9 a.m. So they will use different sanctuaries in the synagogue. They are all equipped with exactly the same elements: the U-shaped room, the Bima, the ARon, and something to notice is the Ner Tamid or eternal light situated above the ARon. This light is there to give honor to the divine presence that rests wherever a quorum or minyan of Jews gather to pray. Finally, the last item you may notice is this very special calendar. It is a calendar that tells us today's date, but it will also tell you, according to the code of your city, what is the earliest and latest time you can recite Shema, as well as what Hebrew date it is because we follow the lunar calendar. And finally, it will tell us when the candles of Shabbat should be lit and at what time we should conclude Shabbat with our Havdalah ceremony. I would love to know what was the thing or element that surprised you the most in this Orthodox Sephardic Jewish synagogue. Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. And know that in my book, you are part of my inner sanctuary. You bring me peace and joy. If you're here until the end, please write in the comments. I love to connect with you, so I know I was not alone. And as a gentle reminder, if nobody told you today, know that you are loved and you are enough just the way you are. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and don't forget to frum it up.
You don't mind if I say that I love you.